Hello and welcome to the Cranky Old Gamer. Today we're going to be taking a look at a prototype game. It is still in development, so we're going to kind of be going over the pros and the cons. The game is called Apochalyptica. It is as the name implies, a post-apocalyptic bunker game, and the name is, according to the creator, kind of an apocalypse portmanteau. If you're not familiar with the word epoch, it is, by definition, a period of time in history or a person's life, typically one marked by notable events or particular characteristics. I can see how that fits in with the theme of the game. The game is very thematic. That is the first thing I want to say. I love the art direction of the game. Everything, like you see the box here, it's very dark and kind of dirty and run down, and I really like that. You know, you've got, like, this is one of your main game boards, and it flips over, and here's your bunker. It all uses the same font, which is kind of that bold typeface font, like a typewriter. All of the cards use that, and it's very artistically thematic. I love the theming of this game. I think it's very, very well done. As soon as I opened up the box, I got very excited. So the idea of the game is you have 12 characters. No matter how many gamers you have, you just kind of spread them out throughout your gamers, and you start on this side, and this is an actual board. There's actually two sides that attach to this, like this, and you all start in the outskirts, and you have 3 rounds to get to the center, but you're also searching these squares. The light ones are outside, the dark ones are inside, for supplies. The bomb is dropping. You have 3 turns to make it to that inner circle, and only 8 characters can fit. So not everybody's going to make it. 4 people are going to be left out. It is up to the players to decide who of their, if they're like, you know what, this character could be a liability, I'm going to kind of leave them out. Oops, oh no, they didn't make it into the bunker. Or for good role-playing, they might want to put them in there. From there, you have 12 turns of living in a bunker. Each turn represents 1 month. There's resource management. You have to watch your oxygen. You have to watch your food supplies. You have to watch your sanity. You have to repair your generator, your water supply. It is sealed. Nothing's coming in from the outside, and you have to survive 12 months. I said a key word in there: role-playing. This game is a very interesting hybrid. It is not just a board game. It is an RPG board game that kind of splits elements of both. The creator of the game and I actually kind of talked back and forth via email, and he's really excited about how this isn't just moving a piece and collecting resources. This is storytelling. You are playing your character. You are hiding your good and bad traits so that your character could be a liar. He could be a murderer. He could be a doctor. He could be an artist. He could have a disease and doesn't want to get killed, kind of thing. There's all kinds of different factors, and a lot of it plays into the morality. Like, maybe you've got this character who has gone insane, and you want to put them out of your misery for the safety of the group. But on the other hand, that's a person. They don't. If you're playing that character, you don't want to be killed. So there's a lot of good in this game. I really like the situations it puts you in, the questions it makes you ask. I like that it factors in a lot of things. There's a lot of wild cards in this game. It factors in, it is a very cramped bunker, and you've got 8 people. So, like, if you have too many people in one room, people start losing their sanity, kind of reflecting, anger and bickering and tight quarters, stuck in this little room with these people, like, get out of my space. So they do that really, really well. So the pieces of the game are very simple. There is the small board that, like I said, this is your... There we go. This is your bunker. And then to either side, there are charts that show, like, what your oxygen level's at, your food level's at. You have character sheets. Now, this is something I found kind of interesting. Again, staying true to the RPG, you actually have character sheets, and you maintain your character's health, sanity, your weight, because if you're underweight, if you're starving, you start to lose health. Your inventory, like there are some ways you could have, on your way into the bunker, run into a neighbor and taken their gun or something like that. So there's a lot of really cool stuff, and then the game is supposed to have a GM. You have a game master. As with Dungeons and Dragons or White Wolf or any of those game systems, it is up to the GM whether they want to choose a character or not. The GM could just guide. He could just storytell and keep track of the story and how things are going, or they could be one of the characters just entrusted to kind of manage. All right, very cool. So again, the game does a lot right. There's some really, really good concepts. One of the things that I did like is this little handy guide. Once the players have entered the bunker, you give them this guide, and it's probably 40 pages worth of like guides on how to live in a bunker. And it's not designed as a rule book. It's designed as, look, there's like a crossword puzzle. There's damage effects of it's designed to be a role-playing guide of how to live in a bunker for 12 months. That's cool. And you've also got, like, somebody wrote in pen survival tips, like don't trust the government, or should you go outside, stuff like that. You can see that. So I think that's really cool. That's a nice little addition. Players can pass it back and forth. Again, I'm going to be perfectly honest with this game. There is a lot that they got right. There's a lot that I love. There's also a lot that really, really needs work. Probably the biggest thing is this right here. This is your rule book. And if you can see how thick this is, it's 50 some pages. It's terribly laid out. We had a lot of trouble deciphering a lot of the rules. And in fact, before we even began playing, I had to email Emil, the creator of the game, with a laundry list of questions. Well, what happens in this situation? How does this work? What does this rule mean? What is the wording of this? How do I figure out this? And I will give him credit. He was on the spot. He answered all of my questions clearly. But I think if I had not had him as a resource, this would have lost me. There's a lot of cross-referencing. For example, one of our characters got injured. Well, first we had to look up injury. Then we had to look up the injury table. Then we had to use the injury table to go to the health page to figure out what that injury means. And these are all over the book. These are not like all on one page collected. The information just doesn't flow right. Thankfully, again, this is a prototype game. This is not a finished product, so these are things that they can work on with the right feedback, which is why I'm saying this here. Another issue that I had, I understand this is a role-playing game. Great, I love role-playing games. Role-playing games that are bigger, like Grand Scenario, again, we'll reference Dungeons and Dragons. The player's guide is meant for any scenario. So yeah, there's gonna be a lot of tables. This whole game is designed for one scenario, and more than half of this book is tables on how to roll things. They tried really hard to think of any situation that could go wrong and have a contingency for it, like how to factor it into the game, but that made it needlessly complicated. You have two different kinds of dice. You have D6 and D10, and you're constantly rolling on different charts. Roll half D6, roll 2D10 for a percentage, roll this, roll that. Roll this to figure out what you're rolling on this chart. There's literally roll to figure out what you roll on another chart. It just made it so unnecessarily complicated. We were trying to role play the game and spent more time cross-referencing the book and trying to figure things out. So the game desperately needs some streamlining. I think if they can overcome that, this will be a phenomenal one-shot RPG board game. I think the other problem that I had with it is I understand the desire to have a hybrid RPG board game. Great, cool, lots of games have done this well. this game kind of feels like it can't decide which it wants to be. Once you've done the initial 3 rounds and gotten into the bunker, I mean, this is your board. 6 rooms. And you can move up to 2 spaces per round. And I understand that there are quantities like the supply room, the medical room. They can only have 2 people at the end of the round, or people start to go insane because of the tight quarters. Okay. Problem I had with this is thematically, each round is a month. So I can only move from my living room to my bathroom in a month. There was a discussion that we had. There's a mechanic that I think is cool. In the left wing of the bunker, there is a grow bed. If while you were out foraging, you found vegetables and fruits, you can harvest the seeds. Awesome. You can then plant them in the grow bed and have food growing, and it processes your oxygen. Cool, great mechanic. The mechanic to do it requires you to go enter the supply room, spend an action, meaning 1 month, harvesting your seeds. Then your next month, this way, you go into the left wing and plant the seeds. So you, as one character, have just wasted 2 months out of the game just to plant food. It just didn't feel like, I don't know. Thematically, that felt a little bit awkward. Like, I feel like, again, I've said this before, I'm not a game designer. I'm not sure what the answer is, how to overcome this. But as a player and a play tester, this was kind of the issue that I had. I understand that they want to limit what you can do each round. Okay, move and an action. That makes sense in a board game. In a thematic RPG, it starts to get kind of weird. Another thing we really didn't care for, again, there's a little bit too much arbitrary dice rolling and charts at the beginning of your character's turn, because you could have more than one character. At the beginning of each character's turn, you draw a card that has its own chart of what could happen. You draw a card, each card is a chart that you roll a d6. The first 4 months of the game, they're all pretty easy. Most of these are good or harmless. You might roll something bad. As you get further in the game, they become yellow cards, which are a little bit harsher. And then you get into the red cards, which means bad stuff is likely to happen because you're almost to the end. Didn't care for that. I would rather have just had a deck of cards that had good and bad events, and I just draw a card for the event. I don't want to draw a chart. So again, I don't want to sound like I'm picking on the game or that I disliked it. We had a lot of fun. It was really good role-playing. We really wanted to each survive. We wanted our characters to survive. We kind of got into our characters, and that was a lot of fun. People were not actually bickering, but like role-playing bickering and like hating each other, and there was a fight, and that was pretty cool. Combat really, overhaul combat. That was not, for what this game is, combat was unnecessarily complicated. That right there, those 2 words kind of sum up how we felt about this game. Wonderful, thematic, fun, really cool ideas, but unnecessarily complicated. If you can streamline this game and still keep those role-playing elements and still keep that challenge, this is a phenomenal one-shot night of hiding in a bunker. If you're a fan of post-apocalyptic literature or bunker living kind of fan of sci-fi fantasy, this captures that beautifully. It was very thematic, like Fallout, or one of our players kind of compared it, if you've ever seen the movie 10 Cloverfield Lane, 3 people trapped in a bunker together, one of whom is completely insane. It's very tense, it's very well done, and it really makes for some cool moral choices, and we had a blast with it. There's really great ideas, just need to be streamlined, that's all. Apochalyptica will be hitting Kickstarter probably within the next few months. I will definitely keep you updated on my website, thecrankyoldgamer.com. Hope you guys have had a good time. Hope you guys are interested in this. If you like what you've seen, don't forget to like and subscribe. Please, if you're interested in my channel, you want to help it grow, Patreon link is at the end of the credits. You get your name in the credits. And check out my Instagram. We're getting close to that 500 follower mark, and I want to get there. All right, guys, thank you all for watching. Hope you had a good time. Once again, this has been Apochalyptica. See you later.